year, we take time to thank the people who made an impact on our lives. At Assumption, we do that by sending letters of thanks to these important people. Before we share some of these letters today, we recognize that there are some people who have made an impact on all of Assumption High School, and we wish to show them our deepest gratitude today. As we all know, Catherine McCauley founded the Sisters of Mercy to continue the work she began caring for those in need and educating young women. During our All Saints and All Souls Prayer service this year, we heard from several people in our community who have lived out the works of mercy in their own lives. We also know that our 9 AHS families are named for the first 9 foundations that the Sisters established in Ireland. Perhaps what we may be less familiar with is how and why they ended up in Louisville, Kentucky. In 1847, the U.S. government built a marine hospital in the Portland area of Louisville and served men who became sick or injured during the peak of riverboat travel on the Ohio and Mississippi rivers. During the Civil War, both Union and Confederate soldiers were treated there. In the late 1860s, Sisters of Mercy from St. Louis were called upon to minister as nurses at the hospital. It was answering the call that brought the sisters to Louisville.
Since that time, the Sisters of Mercy in Louisville were involved in numerous ministries as they lived out Catherine's original call to be women of mercy. In addition to serving in hospitals, they cared for the elderly, ran retreat centers, and of course, educated young people in Catholic schools.
They established Mercy Academy in 1885. In 1953, the school was at peak enrollment, so the sisters went to the Archbishop Flourish about plans to renovate and expand the school. The Archbishop surprised them with an alternative plan to build a new Mercy school in a growing area of town.
Ground was broken on August 1st, 1954, and the sisters moved into the Assumption Convent attached to the school the following year. Assumption opened its doors to students for the first time on September 6, 1955, with 153 girls enrolled. Sister Mary Prisca Pfeffer was the school's first principal and worked alongside 5 other sisters who made up the teaching staff.
A lot has happened at Assumption High School since those first days, and all of it is connected to the vision, courage, and hard work of the Sisters of Mercy. Today we all stand on the shoulders of those who came before us. We know that the blessings we enjoy today are a direct result of the commitment of these sisters.
We are very blessed because today we have 3 Sisters of Mercy with us. Until very recently, they lived just across the street, just across Tyler Lane. That's Sister Paula Ann Trigo, Sister Jacina Hennigan, and Sister Diana Newton. Sister Diana is an Assumption alum. Each of them just recently moved from Tyler Lane and literally have unlocked new doors, not only to new homes, but also to new paths forward in living out their call to live lives of mercy. But we didn't want them to get too far away without an opportunity to say thank you to them. And Thanksgiving is the perfect time to do that. They have done so much for the community of Assumption, and so much of what we enjoy and benefit from today comes from the work of their hands and the love of their heart. Sisters, your example of Christian leadership is something that all of us can aspire to. We'd love to thank you for your service. We also know for us. Not all superheroes wear capes, but they wear masks and windbreakers. The Sisters of Mercy have an amazing legacy in Louisville, as we've seen. Among many other accomplishments, they have sent 11,100 Assumption alumni out into the world since the first graduating class of 1958. One of those alums is Claire Feller. Claire graduated from Assumption in 2016, and since that time she has carved her own path as a woman of mercy. She graduated from the University of Dayton in 2020 with a degree in biology, and then she chose to complete a year of service with the Mercy Volunteer Corps. She did that at a free primary care clinic in Detroit, Michigan. She's now excited to be back in Louisville and is currently a first-year medical student at the University of Louisville. What Catherine began long ago, Claire continues today. So I'm very excited to introduce to you, before we get to our letters, Assumption alum Claire Phillip.
Good morning, ladies. It is wonderful to be back at Assumption. Just a few years ago, I was in your shoes. I'm really not that old, I promise. I was sharing retreats with my best friends in Burr and cheering on the Rockets to victory at the pink and white game. I still remember my sophomore year acts at Norton Children's, and it is so special and rare to have a school that makes service such a priority. Assumption taught me that service isn't merely an extracurricular or a box to check on college applications, but rather an essential part of what it means to be a person of mercy. As a junior in college, I was imagining my future after graduation, as I know many of you probably are as well. I began to realize that before going to medical school, I wanted to broaden my perspective of the world, jump out of my comfort zone, and recommit myself to service. A casual Google search led me right back to Mercy. I stumbled upon an organization called Mercy Volunteer Corps, sponsored by the Sisters of Mercy, just as Assumption is. I immediately knew I had to learn more. And as I interviewed for the program, I quickly realized that the things I loved about Assumption, its commitment to social justice, service, and compassion, were the same things I could find with the Sisters of Mercy through the Mercy Volunteer Corps. In August 2020, I packed up my life here in Kentucky to move to Detroit, Michigan, where I spent the year as a full-time volunteer at a free primary care clinic for uninsured patients. My service year was one of the most challenging, rewarding, wildest years of my life. But one thing that I will never forget is the value of prioritizing gratitude. One of our patients at the clinic was having significant health struggles and was in desperate need of an important medical procedure. She was an immigrant who didn't have her U.S. citizenship and had no insurance and no way of paying for the incredibly expensive procedure. My coworkers and I spent many hours looking into resources to help her, and I was heartbroken by the many injustices and unfair barriers facing her. Despite this hardship, she was one of the kindest, most grateful people I had ever encountered. Though life had been incredibly unfair to her, she continued to smile and was constantly thanking us for our work. Though I wish we could have helped her more, she reminded me of the importance of holding fast to gratitude, even during the most challenging days. The world can be a scary, harsh place at times, and in the midst of challenges like COVID, racism, and environmental crises, it can be easy to get caught up in despair. However, there is so much goodness and beauty and joy around us still. By taking a few moments each day to stop and remember the things we have to be grateful for, we can keep things in perspective and find the strength to keep working for a better world. As I near the end of my first semester of medical school, I recognize the challenges of finding enough time in the day to reflect, serve the community, and continue educating myself about social justice. I know you all are busy too, but when we find the time to remember all that we have to be thankful for, and to make an effort to incorporate service into our everyday lives, we can live happier, more fulfilled lives as people of mercy. Mercy doesn't end at Assumption. I am still inspired by the incredible people I met at Assumption, the Sisters of Mercy that I met in Detroit, and the many incredible people I met during my service year. In this season of gratitude, I encourage you all to thank those people who inspire you to live on mercy, and to pay it forward by spreading mercy in the community by being of service to others. Thank you all.